Hello and welcome to Let's Be Real. On today's episode, we are going to be discussing those Oscar nominations, the Michael Jackson third act dilemma, the controversial AI use in The Brutalist and Emilia Perez, two Oscar heavyweights, and then some Avatar Fire and Ash updates. I believe we're on our 93rd episode. We're counting down to our final episode, which will be the 100th one. But anyway, I am your host, James. I am joined by Nain and Kyan. Boys, how are we doing?
Fantastic, mate. And how are you?
Doing well. You, Nain?
Yeah, all good. It's summer, so hot.
Nice. Classic Nain update there for you guys. But yep, I say we just jump straight into the stuff here because these Oscar nominations are going to be pretty big. Now, we're not going to go through the Oscar nominations one by one in terms of the categories. Unfortunately, we do live in New Zealand, and a lot of the release dates are, end of January, start of February. We even have stuff releasing after the Oscars in cinemas in New Zealand, so it's ridiculous. But we haven't really seen enough to give personal opinions to categories, whether they deserved or not. But we are going to discuss kind of all the movies that were in the running. So in terms of Oscar nominations, in terms of the tally for them, the leaders are Emilia Perez with 13 nominations. The Brutalist and Wicked have 10 nominations. A Complete Unknown and Conclave, 8 nominations. Nora has 6 nominations. Dune Part 2 and The Substance have 5 nominations. So those are the big ones for this year's Oscars. Boys, any thoughts on these movies and how much they have here in terms of the nominations?
A bit surprised by Emilia Perez. I haven't seen it, but just stuff I've heard about it, it's mixed. Well, it's been like, some have been saying it's good, some have been saying it's average. Wicked, I can see why that's got so many noms. I'm surprised it doesn't have any more. Did it get everything in regards to like technicals, like makeup, hairstyling, costume?
Yeah,
like
but
that?
I didn't get any song because it's not
Yeah.
original song. So yeah, if songs were counted, I would have gotten 1 or 2 there.
Yeah, I think so too. But yeah, a bit shocked about Nora being that low, but I think that's more performance heavy and script heavy driven
Yeah.
than anything else. But yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, when we talk about full package movies, it would be something like The Brutalist that is more of a full package movie, where you have those like really, really big performance nominations and a lot of the cinematography and writing and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
So it makes sense why The Brutalist is so high. Emilia Perez, on the other hand, is incredibly divisive. A lot of people saying almost offensive. An offensive nomination of a film sort of thing. So, I don't know, it's a little hard. Wicked makes a lot more sense, large set pieces and stuff like that. However, it's a lot more fantastical than Emilia Perez.
Yeah.
So there are some notches taken off that for its sort of like, I suppose, like cartoony look, which people tend to take less seriously than something like Emilia Perez.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I won't go too deep into the reasonings behind why people are so upset with it, but with Emilia Perez, that is. But
Yeah.
a lot of the justifications I've heard on either side is fair. There are fair justifications on either side.
Yeah.
But
Have you seen Emilia Perez?
I've not. No, it's not released here, but it's
It's on Netflix.
Oh, is it on Netflix?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, then no, I haven't watched it on Netflix. No.
Yeah, I think the divisiveness, or like, I've only really seen negative, or it hasn't been great stuff about Emilia Perez, so I've really felt no inclination to watch it, I guess, immediately. But now it's kind of like, I have to watch it, I have to see what this is all about. 13 nominations in there, I got like 2 in song and stuff like that, so it picks up those kind of extras through those technical categories. But yeah, Brutalist and Wicked, they are kind of complete picture movies in terms of you got the performances, you got the writing, and then like all the technical stuff as well. A Complete Unknown. I mean, that's a complete surprise. I did not think that would be. I didn't think it'd get 8 nominations. I thought, Timothée Chalamet, I thought he would get in. I had no idea about who's the supporting actress in it.
Ella Fanning.
No, it's another one. Barbella or something like that. I don't know. Maria, something like that. And then Edward Norton as well. James Mangold gets in for directing.
Yeah.
It got Best Picture nomination. I'm actually very surprised that it got so much. So it seems to be quite beloved by the Academy. Maybe it surprises on the actual Oscar night. And then, I am surprised about Nora, but like, I guess when you really do think about it, it really had a ceiling of being around that 6 to 8 mark of nominations, I think, at the end of the day. And Doom Part 2 being 5 nominations, and no major except for picture, I believe.
It was disqualified from score. Was it
Yeah.
score or sound or score?
Score.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, I think it got sound, cinematography, production design. But yeah, I think just a case of releasing it far too early, everyone forgetting about it. I think Substance with 5 nominations is great. It shows progression with Oscar voters to vote a horror movie, especially a horror movie that kind of goes that.
Weird.
And to kind of like shock value and weird. So great that it's actually being nominated. And it's been nominated in like really major categories. So that's good. I mean, I was just going to lead to my next subject now, which is talking about a bit of the surprises. So we'll start with Substance there. 5 nominations. And they got big 4 in here. Lead actress, director, screenplay, and picture. Obviously, it gets makeup and hairstyling, and I honestly think it probably deserves makeup and hairstyling over... What else got nominated? Wicked, Nosferatu as well. But yeah, 4 major categories for the Substance. We've all seen it, so what do we think about it getting there?
I mean, Coralie Farget not being nominated for Best Director is huge.
She got nominated.
Yeah, nominated. Yeah. For Best Director is huge.
It is, yeah.
It's a real surprise. Considering she only really has one previous movie called Revenge, and it's a pretty small film. Very few people watched it, and she's gone from there all the way up to this sort of like upper echelon.
Yeah,
and done that through the lens of a horror is pretty surprising. At the beginning, honestly, I did not expect the performances of Demi Moore to really bring this film to a potential win for Best Actress. I honestly, because I thought that she did great in the movie, but it didn't ring Best Actress to me.
Right.
I'm glad it is, just because I think horror deserves more recognition, but it's surprising. There's a lot of surprises surrounding this.
Yeah.
Yeah, there is. Like you said it before, I think that the one that it's really going to win is makeup and hairstyling. In regards to Demi Moore's performance, I think she did a good performance, but I don't think she did as good as Mikey Madison.
Right.
But I wouldn't be disappointed if she did end up winning it, because they are probably the 2 best I've seen, which is, I think, is probably the only 2
Might be the only one you've
seen. But yeah, everything else, I think screenplay, I think there's stronger, or there will be other stronger candidates out there for that. Same with director and picture as well. So I think it's really actress and makeup and hairstyling where I can see it picking up an Oscar.
Yeah. Oh, you would have seen Cynthia Erivo from Wicked.
Yeah.
For her performance as well. Plus Mikey Madison, yeah. But we've still got 2 more to see, and one of them is in Emilia Perez, which could be a real contender there, especially if it's
13 nominations.
13 nominations, it could go for a sweep. It has that potential, seemingly. The reaction if Emilia Perez wins or goes for a sweep would be hilarious to watch. Another surprise, Nosferatu. I didn't even think this was even going to be really a big player in the Oscars, but it got 4 nominations. It's doing pretty well, far more than I thought. Makeup and hairstyling, cinematography, production design, and costuming. I haven't seen the movie, but based on the trailers, it looks and feels like it should be nominated for those. But Nosferatu are kind of, you're probably better to talk about this one, but another horror making a play in the Oscars. What are your thoughts on that?
It is surprising. It's surprising to see an Eggers film as well, sort of like so prominently in here. I think that he's probably becoming a bit more of a household name right now, but I think that cinematography out of all of these is probably the most deserved.
Yeah.
Because the way this film is pictured and shot.
So you have seen it?
I have seen it. It has a look to it where it's shot in color, but it looks black and white. The way it's shot.
Yeah, I was going to say the lighting looks incredible.
Yeah, the lighting is incredible. There are dreamlike sequences throughout it that just feel like you're kind of floating. It's very, very well shot.
Wow.
So it's no shock to me that cinematography is getting that love, but all these other categories as well. I'm just surprised it managed to bring 4 total noms into the fold.
Yeah.
Really surprising.
It is really surprising, but I think it does show progression with Academy voters that
Yes.
to include kind of different genres into the mix.
Rather than just like the usual
Yeah.
drama and thriller.
Yeah, I would have liked to see Lily Rose Depp in the conversation here.
Yeah,
Because she did an absolutely fantastic performance.
I heard some good stuff.
Who would
about
you
it.
replace for her?
Who was nominated?
Cynthia Erivo, Carla Sofia Gashon, Mikey Madison, Demi Moore, and Fernanda Torres.
Okay, I've not seen all of those enough to really say.
Right.
Yeah, I couldn't say.
All right. And then Sebastian Stan, nominated for Best Actor for The Apprentice, playing Donald Trump.
His first nomination too, right?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah.
But I haven't seen The Apprentice. I never heard anything great about it. I didn't even know he would be really in the mix for getting a nomination for Best Lead Actor.
Yeah, I have seen it.
You have seen it?
Yeah, and he does do a really, really good portrayal of Trump. It's kind of one of those movies where I feel like he did a great job, but then I also feel like Jeremy Strong was overshadowing him half the time.
Jeremy Strong got nominated as well.
Yeah,
So, yeah.
But that's what I mean is that
Yeah.
like they're both so great, but Jeremy Strong is also so good in it that you're sort of watching this movie and you're going like, yeah, but this guy's also really good.
Yeah. But still shocking, yeah. Thoughts saying on Sebastian Stan getting the nom here?
Yeah, I was shocked. I mean, like you said, I didn't hear anything about this film when it released. I like nothing positive or negative as well. I think it just went under the radar. And then this just coming up was really shocking. I can't remember who was nominated or if there was anyone else to replace him with.
Well, so far you got Adrian Brody, Timothy Chalamet, Coleman Domingo, Ralph Fiennes, which I don't think you've seen. I haven't seen any of those performances.
No, I mean,
I've seen no lead actor performances. That's
nothing's
shocking.
really coming to my head right now in regards to someone that could probably replace him. Maybe like Timothy Chalamet for Dune, maybe.
yeah.
I don't know how good Bill Skarsgård was as Nosferatu.
It's such a like a character role that it's
Similar to it.
it's just hard to categorize that as a.
Or maybe even that guy from Civil War. The main guy. Don't know his name. The Latino guy.
I forget his name. He plays like the wolf in Puss in Boots, right?
Does he?
Yeah.
Oh shit! Didn't even know that.
Are you talking about the lead actor, or you talking about Jesse Plemons?
No, not Jesse Plemons. The lead actor.
You're talking about the lead actor. Yeah. He plays the wolf in Puss in Boots. Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. But yeah, I think he did a good job in that. Maybe any one of the two boys from Challengers as well. I know that was released very, very early, so it's easily forgettable, but I think they probably could have gone up as well.
It's a weird Oscar season. I don't know if it's like New Zealand release date's not really having anything for us at this time, or whether this year it's just kind of weak in general. Like we're talking about The Apprentice, Emilia Perez, and they're just all movies that haven't really gotten that attention. At least we've seen online where we've like, oh, Oscar movie, we need to get in for this. And then Oscar nominations come out and they're nominated. It's like, oh, we should have watched it when, like first released or when we could first do that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, moving to the snubs now. We'll start off with the biggest one. Denis Villeneuve, Best Director. I don't know if that's a snub per se because I wasn't expecting him to get it, but it feels like a snub because he absolutely deserves a nomination at the least. Thoughts?
Yes, at least compared to, from what I understand, James Mangold. For A Complete Unknown, I understand that it's considered to be a performance movie, as opposed to being like incredibly well directed. Again, can't say, not seen it. I would say it's probably considerably harder to produce something like Dune Part 2 than A Complete Unknown to pull it off.
I don't know if I agree with that because he did Dune 1. It's kind of easy to just jump back into a world and do it again. At least the first time's the hardest time. The second time should be easier.
Yeah. I was going to say it's based on source material, but Complete Unknown is essentially based on source
Sometimes
material
it is,
too.
Probably a biography or something.
Yeah. I mean, like, you could argue that the director of, I think it's Edward Berger or something from Conclave, he got snubbed from this one as well, directing. So it might have just been a stacked year. I mean, The Substance, Carolee Fargett and James Mangold are both surprises in this category.
Yeah. Yeah.
But-
I think it is just really stacked. I don't necessarily think that Denis should have been nominated, but I think that there are arguments throughout here that you could replace one director with another, and it would be completely fine. Many of them are interchangeable. You just had to pick some.
I mean, the reason why I say that is because from the ones I've seen, which is only The Substance and Anora, Sean Baker and Coralie here, Denis Villeneuve outperformed them both in terms of directing. A complete package movie, Denis put it together the best. So that's why I say the snub is a snub.
I think he definitely should have got in over The Substance. I haven't seen A Complete Unknown yet. But in terms of what I have seen, which is Substance, I think Dune 2 was better directed film than The Substance.
I would actually agree with that.
Yeah.
I thought The Substance was really good and really interesting. It was more so the screenplay that was interesting than the directing.
Yeah. And then, I don't know. I think once we see Emilia Perez, based on what we've heard, that we'll probably know which one doesn't.
It's so hard to have a conversation about this because all of these are just like, I don't know, there's so many movies here that I feel mixed about.
Yeah,
That I can't really have any concrete opinions as there. I can't be like, this absolutely deserved it and that's ridiculous.
you kind of got to see everything to do that.
Yeah.
But also, there's just not a movie this year, and I usually have a movie or two that I'm absolutely rooting for. I'm like, this deserves it. This needs that. Especially last year, we had so much that we thought, nah, this has to get in. They have to win that.
That's an Oppenheimer bias right there, I reckon.
No, there were other movies. The last Oscar
Yeah.
season was great.
Yeah.
But there's always like Parasite. There's always some really high-profile movie that deserves to go. I just don't know what that is.
It's like almost like, how like certain years are dud years in terms of box office and anticipation. Mm-hmm. It almost seems like as if it's the same with Oscar season now. Like you have your dud years and you have your big years, your big main events, like such as 2025, 2026 for Hollywood in terms of exciting films. It's going to be something similar with that. I think that's starting to transcend into the Oscar season now, where you just have like something that's mid and then, I don't know, probably next year or the year after will be something really, really good.
Yeah, the Oscars for 2026 will be cool. You got fucking Nolan, Spielberg, Villeneuve all releasing movies, so should be interesting.
Yeah.
We spoke about on an earlier potty a few weeks ago, Daniel Craig was heating up for actor. No nomination for Best Actor for him for Queer. Neither was the movie nominated for anything. Thoughts on that?
I haven't really seen it, so I'm not sure how well he did or anything like that.
No.
He was nominated for Globes, right?
I think so. I know he won for the really AFI.
Oh, yeah, those ones.
Yeah. So I thought he was really heating up there. And Challenges, Best Original Score. Nothing for that.
Yeah, that number's
Yeah,
ridiculous.
Yeah.
I think that's a robbery.
That is insane. I don't even know what got
And I
nominated.
also think it's because it released super early in 2024 that everyone just forgot about it.
Yeah, I mean, The Wild Robot getting nominated for Best Original Score and not Challenges, immediately just kick it off. Immediately get rid of it. Really? You would have
Not
The Wild
over
Ro-
it, but I'm pretty sure there's other. What's the nominees for
Well,
it?
The Brutalist, Conclave, Emilia Perez, we haven't seen, and then Wicked.
The only one I have seen is Wicked, so
So Wicked, Wild Robot, or Challenges.
I'll get rid of Wicked.
Goodness.
I wouldn't get rid of Wicked because I think that
It's
it
just
does too
song-based.
well with its pieces. The pieces are too good. Like all the individual ones, the songs are too good.
That's not score. Score and songs are different.
Yeah, but
That's why it's two different categories in the Oscars.
isn't best song and an individual song in there?
Best Original Song and then Best Original Score.
Yeah. So the score is like the whole thing, right?
I would just say that the score is a musical.
No, yeah, score is musical based, orchestrated at the studio, recorded, all that kind of stuff. But I mean, I think in a way, Wicked, it complements it so well. They all kind of go together because a lot of the musical pieces in Wicked, like the song will stop and they'll have a little scene and there's music flying through it, keeping the rhythm and tempo going, and then they start back up again. It's just kind of like a flow. But yeah, that's our Oscar coverage so far done. I'm sure once we do these potties as we go through the Oscar season, we'll have seen more and we'll be able to give more better takes that actually reflect our opinions on all the movies that are nominated at the time. But we'll move on to Michael, which is the Michael Jackson movie. So this news just dropped yesterday, and it's meant to be due to release it like around October this year, but it looks like it's going to get delayed because the entire third act has been scrapped and it needs to be reshot. So the third act focused on a 1993 investigation to Jordan Chandler's claim that Michael Jackson sexually abused him when he was 13 years old. But I think Michael Jackson and the family, the estate or whatever, they signed a deal years ago with the Chandler family to never include them in any sort of movie. And so this has come up again, and now they are required to get rid of that third act there and redo it. So thoughts on this?
I think that's just, I don't know who it is, whether it's the studio or the screenplay writer or the director's lack of doing their homework. And like, if this thing is actually true that, there was a deal signed where they can't include it, but they include it anyway. If they knew about it, then that's negligence on them, obviously. And if they didn't know about it, then they clearly didn't do their homework right. And obviously it's screwed up the entire movie because now they have to redo the whole third act.
Yeah.
So yeah, and this film was looking like there was potential behind this film. And now just hearing this sort of stuff, it's going to pretty much darken people's. I don't think it will be that bad, but it'll just be like it's just another roadblock for them, in terms of like trying to redo an entire act to make it still flow with the first two acts, and then still get it released on time.
I don't know if that on time thing's going to come to fruition. Yeah. Kyan?
Yeah, I mean, how do you make a Michael Jackson movie without that whole controversy, right? Yeah. It's hard. It's really hard. I mean, it's probably why it's taken this long to really create an adaptation is because he had such a complicated life and there was a lot of allegations around him as a person and what he was doing with kids and all that sort of thing. And who really wants to go and sit down in a cinema and watch Michael Jackson abuse kids, because it's a realistic depiction of the allegations.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. I mean, what they're going to replace it with is really the most important thing here. You have to replace it with something with as much heft and importance.
Yeah.
And I really don't know what that is going to be. I suspect they might just maybe make it a little bit more vague and kind of not show it. Show it but not show it sort of thing. They might go that sort of angle.
Or they could just go with like his cultural significance in the music industry.
Yeah, but then that could just seem as being like dishonest and not a proper representation of his life. I mean, he's pretty well known for being an abuser of children. Whether that's true or not is a different story, but that's what he's known for, unfortunately, in a lot of circles.
I mean, they could include him dangling the baby over the balcony as a scene.
What was that? The photos of that, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was like
there
a
was
photos
videos of it.
of her. I think it was one of his kids and like held it over the balcony rail. I don't know if it was like showing people or
Like
anything.
as some kind of discipline,
or it's like a joke.
No, he was just showing the paparazzi's kid, and he was hanging them over, and the kid was like slipping.
Well, I mean, he's certainly got a interesting life to cover. Like, there's going to be an eventful movie at least. But I kind of stand on two different sides of this, both kind of positive and negative. I guess, like, the negative side of it would be, like, if this is true, then how did the producers get this wrong? How do you not do your homework? How do you just forget that? I don't think we've ever... And to the point where you have to spend all this money and shoot the movie, and then now you got to, like... scrap it and start again and cause delays and have an increased production budget, all that kind of stuff. I just don't know how you can, unless they tried to do it and like would hope that like no one brought it up again, like legally, and that they could kind of get away with it. That's the only thing I can think of. But if they've just been negligent, it kind of just shows me that, or it indicates that this like production crew may not be as competent as we are given the faith towards them for. But on the positive side of it, I'm glad it's not just going to be like this cookie cutter Michael Jackson movie where they don't focus on any of that real world, hard, nuanced stuff. And it's not just going to be him just conquering the music industry and just seeing his impact on a musical level and nothing else. They're actually going to go kind of into deeper subjects, which I'm really glad about because it does paint Michael Jackson as this like complex figure.
Well, they were. We don't know if they will anymore.
That is true.
Yeah.
I still think they'll do something a little bit daring. At least they've shown that they want to do it here.
I think so as well. Yeah.
But it's not like we're going to get no cookie cutter movie of just Michael Jackson singing and dancing for the entire thing. We're actually going to get something a little bit with some depth in it, and I'm glad about that. Yeah, Michael he's complex, and I'm keen to fully explore it. You don't need to like make him out to be some kind of like child abuser, whether he is or not, but you can give the details of what happened to the audience, and then they can just kind of, I guess.
I think that's probably the best move, but I think that I don't know. It's tricky because you can have a movie like Bohemian Rhapsody that's about Freddie Mercury, and you can paint it in a sympathetic angle. I'm not saying he was a bad person. He probably did some bad things, from what I understand, but you can paint his life in a sympathetic way where, there was good, there was bad, but it's ultimately a celebration of him and his skills as an artist.
Yeah.
Whereas with Michael Jackson, you can do something similar, but the allegations overshadow so much of his legacy that it's hard for you to be able to create something that isn't like an actual celebration of him, but more so kind of like this damning sort of, I don't know, it's like a letter of damning about him in a sense. And I feel similarly about, say, The Apprentice, which, honestly, throughout most of that movie, it felt like it was painting Donald Trump in a very neutral light until one scene happened, and it was like, okay, no, this is not painting him in a good light at all.
I heard it's like that,
Yeah, it gets really, really crazy in this one scene. And then it's like, well, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I don't like when movies especially when it's like people, like complex people, like whether it's Trump or Michael Jackson, and the movie's trying to tell us how we should feel about a certain figure, even when they're not even when it is not black and white with them. Like, you can be on both sides of that character and understand it in a way. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I see what you're saying. I think that there are absolutely, however, cases where
absolutely.
where it's like this person was a piece of shit.
Yeah,
let's be real, they were a bad person. And in the case of Trump, I don't know, because like the scene that they base it on is like it's an allegation from one of his ex-wives that she then revoked later on, and it's hard to know whether or not that actually happened. Right. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if it did, but it's one of those things where it makes you feel a little bit like, I would have preferred if this was like a little bit more ambiguous. But then again, like, I can understand the bravery involved behind the filmmaker saying like, no, you know what, I'm gonna put this to film. Like, I respect that almost.
Director having his vision and his idea, just
their idea, and they're like, screw it, I'm going to do it.
I get that, and I agree that there are some kind of figures that you can't paint in a neutral or positive light. I mean, like Hitler, like we're not going to have like his life growing up.
Unless it's done from the German point of view, we could.
No, I just don't think there's any there's no movie where you could paint him in a neutral. Definitely
not the man himself.
Not
maybe the German mindset, but not the man himself.
Yeah.
It would be cool to see a Hitler film.
Pardon?
It would be cool to see a Hitler film.
There is Downfall. That's a Hitler film.
There you go.
It's all about Hitler. Yeah.
There you go, now. He's going to watch that tonight now.
Yeah.
All right, let's get on to another topic that I am very torn about. AI controversy. Now, it's starting to really heat up among movie fan circles. But for The Brutalist, the film's production used the Ukrainian software company Respeecher to enhance Adrian Brody. What should we call him? AI Adrian Brody.
Oh my God, no. Don't give him that.
And Felicity Jones' Hungarian accents when they are speaking Hungarian. The AI technology was not used to enhance the English language dialogue, which is used most in the film. And the editor who actually revealed this information said that they were very careful about keeping their performances. It's mainly just replacing letters here and there. Moving on to Emilia Perez, they also used Respeecher to blend star Carla Sofia Gashon's singing voice when she couldn't hit certain notes. So they used another singer so that her character could do it when they actually sung the song. So, 2 films here. You got Felicity Jones, Adrian Brody, and Carla Sophia Gashon, all nominated in Oscar performances here. Their voice performance at least has been altered by AI.
I view this as no difference to sports stars, taking performance enhancing drugs, They,
Sure.
they
It's a
take
hard line.
they take those things to, improve their performance, and then the studio goes and does this to improve their performance. Like if we take the Olympics, for example, it's obviously a clear ban in terms of that. So imagine like them being like, okay, you can take performance enhancing drugs, and some people do, some people don't, and the people that do end up winning gold medals. I view it the same as this. Like these guys are doing it, and they're getting nominated for like one of the most prestigious movie awards ever.
Yep.
I don't mind it being used if it's going to make the film a bit more better and authentic, but I don't think you should get award recognition if you use it. I think you should be disqualified, similar to like how Doom is not eligible for score because they used it in
All right.
previous.
What about this? So, after movies have been shot, right? They get color graded. Would you just like any movie that's been color graded? Should the cinematographer not be nominated for cinematography since their shot has been altered?
I think it's a bit different
How?
because you're improving a performance.
Versus improving the cinematographer's performance and selecting that shot.
Well, cinematography is different because if you're just shooting it from a camera, it's all going to look the same, except just the way it moves and stuff like that in terms of color.
But then it gets color graded, it gets altered. Like the cinematographer's shots get altered in post-production, similar to how their performances got altered in post-production.
In fact, that could be even worse than color grading. You can actually shoot something in 8K really wide, filling the full screen, and then in your edit, you can crop it to whatever portion of the screen you want, whatever angle, whatever rotation, so that you're able to have a rotating shot when you were originally doing it stationary. You're able to do all sorts of different things. So it's kind of one of those things where it's like, how far is too far? How far is the editing of something too far?
Right.
Wouldn't that come under editing though?
Yeah, it's all coming. Of course, it is. It's all coming under editing, and so is this voice alteration.
What are your thoughts on it being used in performances?
I think that people are angry about it because the term AI is used in it. I think that if it was called something just like voice merging, or voice editing, people wouldn't think twice about it because it happens already. And I'm going to put this example out here because I think that, quite frankly, this is a less egregious form of alteration than anything else we've been doing in the film industry for decades. Like, take for example, entire singing sections of a movie, where there's the actor playing the character, and then their singing voice is just someone else singing. Like, that's the entire singing performance. That is someone else doing it. Versus them just coming along and touching it up, to slightly alter it to make it sound a little bit more authentic and true to the story and narrative, to make the audiences more convinced.
Yeah.
So I think it's way less egregious than, say, another actor coming in who is an actor in their own right and an artist in their own right, coming in and singing the entire portion for another actor.
But isn't this? I think the controversy comes from the fact that they're all nominated for Oscars. If your performance has been altered, and as Nayan described, they have been enhanced outside of their own performance, and they're going to get recognition for an enhanced performance.
Especially the Emilia Perez one. I don't know if this particular song got nominated for Best Song, but like if they altered it so her voice so she could hit those high notes properly, then, like, what the hell?
Yeah, and does it diminish an actor's, like when an actor goes into a role where they have to use a foreign accent different to their own, and they win an Oscar for that when they could have just used AI if AI was around when they won that, it kind of diminishes their performance in a way, because now you can just, my performance isn't good enough in this accent, just put it through re-speech. My performance is good enough, I'll still get nominated and I might win.
Well, I think that if they were going to make these decisions, because you mentioned it's specifically about the fact that they're nominated, right? If they were going to make these sorts of decisions on alterations of a performance, they should have made this sort of decision a long time ago. Like, for example, Rami Malek winning for Best Actor for Bohemian Rhapsody, all the singing performances are not him.
Right.
None of them are him.
Yes.
So
no one deserved, there was so much controversy around him winning. People didn't think that he deserved to win.
Correct.
Yeah.
But he won anyway. He was nominated anyway.
Yeah.
And really what they were focusing on was really how he played that character as opposed to, I suppose, the singing portion of it. They were dialing in on, okay, he did this part well. So well, in fact, that we think he deserves recognition for it.
The difference is it's not that he didn't do this. They alter the performance. They enhance the performance.
Yeah.
There's a difference between if someone just voice dubbed the Hungarian accent during that scene versus just changing a performance.
I actually think in a very logical way, it is less worse than replacing.
No, because I think it just diminishes the authenticity of the performance.
How does not replacing their voice also not diminish the authenticity?
I mean, it does, but it doesn't as much. In terms of getting nominated for Oscars as well, you're altering a performance versus just having black and white, not their performance, their performance.
I honestly, quite frankly, I don't see the difference. I think that's that's where we separate, is that for me, I think if you're replacing any part of it or altering any part of it, it's all the same, no matter what technology you're using, no matter if you're using a different actor and you're dubbing them over or doing anything like that. And, we've also seen CGI usage in facial emotions on characters before. And who knows how often that's been used? We've only seen it when it's obvious.
Yes.
And
But no, in terms of award recognition, I'm fine to use AI throughout movies. I believe in it being a tool. But if you are going to use it to change your performance and get nominated and win for that performance, it is like enhancing your own performance.
It's like what I said before. I was like, I don't mind it being put in movies, but if they do, they just can't get recognised for an award because their thing's been enhanced. It's been altered.
I would agree with you if this hasn't already been done so many times before in ways way more egregious than this.
But
Which it has.
In terms of altering the performance directly.
But to me, again, like I'll say, the altering, like when you use the word altering versus replacing, like to me, altering is a lesser form than replacing.
I mean, maybe in terms of
it goes like the real thing,
like,
the real thing by the actor, the altered one, which is bad.
No,
and then completely replacing, which is awful.
I'll change the word alter to enhance. You're enhancing a performance.
Yeah, I mean, you are altering it.
So if it's like Rami Malek singing, and then they go in and they use AI to make him sound like Freddie Mercury and sing well, then that is worse than someone else just coming in and do it. Because you can watch the movie and be like, oh, okay, like he's playing the character well, but he's not singing. I understand the difference here. But if they came and did AI and like, oh wow, that sounds like Rami Malek. He sounds really good. He did an amazing performance.
So what about the usage of pitch modulation and what's it called again?
Like auto-tune.
Auto-tune throughout many, like countless performances in movies. That's an alteration. That's an enhancement. It's the same
like
fundamental
Oscar-nominated performances.
Yeah.
I don't know. Is that really like? I know like singers do it, especially like stuff like Wicked. They would record those things in the studio.
Well, actually, funnily enough, Wicked was all done live, but
all the
singing was done live, and they wanted to do it live. But
they would have come in and done it. And
there would have been there would have been some alterations.
No way you could record it that cleanly.
I think they just wanted the mouths to match up perfect.
Yeah,
all those sorts of things.
That makes sense. Yeah. I don't know. There's not much difference from it, but there's a way like if the editor, and look, the fact that this comes from a film editor and it's not like information, like the transparency, there needs to be more of that when it comes to AI usage. Like if this editor never did this interview, we would have gone into the Brutalist and we would have seen Adrian Brody. He's like, oh my God, that seemed amazing. He nailed the accent, all that kind of stuff. But he didn't. Reese Beecher did. And like we would have been lied to. There's something where at least when it comes to AI usage from now on, the Oscars need to have like some kind of criteria or regulation with AI usage in terms of performances or any kind of
I'm
category.
for that, so long as that everything else is also put under that banner. That means no autotune. That means no voice modulation. That means no touching up their vocals in any way, shape, or form. That means that, technically one of the few consistent performances then in a musical would be something like Timothée Chalamet, because he actually sung live. He sung that. That would be him.
Yeah, but like, what about in the Wicked sense, where they sing live, but then it gets altered, or like they record it properly in studio afterwards and overlay.
I would say that there's
That's fine.
only certain tools you're allowed to use.
You're allowed to do that. Yeah.
Well, you're allowed to straight up do auto tune on them as well.
But it's not. It's different because one's enhancing and one's just.
Well, the other is enhancing as well.
I mean, I don't know. I don't know if it's enhancing. Like, where do you stand on that? That's why it's such a tricky conversation.
Yeah.
It is. I think when people go watch movies, they all know that obviously the visuals is altered and singing is altered. It's not the authentic thing. But when they're watching the film, they think that the acting is it. Like, that's the actors doing, those facial expressions, those accents and stuff like that.
That's a good point,
Maybe not too much to the cinephile, but to the general audience, they know that anything song related, even in the music industry, what they get on a CD is completely different to what you go and watch live, and they can understand that. So I think that's where it's like now in pop culture that's a certain expectations for those sort of things.
Yeah.
But when it comes to acting, they all expect that actor to do what they are told to do, what they need to do. And the fact that this thing here is altering their singing and altering their accent for an award purpose, or it might not be for an award purpose, but they got an award recognition for it.
Yeah.
I don't know. It just seems a bit more wrong.
Actually,
I
you
agree
bring
with
up
that. That's a good point,
you bring up an interesting point though is that in the future we're very well going to see AI singing as well.
Oh, probably.
And that will be the actor's voice, and they'll just modulate that into AI singing.
Yeah, and you can't get nominated for that. Yeah.
I think James and I's gripe is that it's got recognised for an award rather than the use of doing it.
Yeah, I mean, the use of doing it, that's completely fine. And I like Dan's point that, when it is singing and when we are watching a musical, we know that this isn't like they're not actually singing at that point in time. It's recorded. And I think even the like main moviegoer, just basic moviegoer, would just go in there and they would understand that as well. We see it through the music industry, we see it through musicals. But when you're seeing just dialogue only, in like another language or accent or whatever, you think that's real acting. You think these actors devoted themselves to that performance, and you believe it, and you go into it, and that influences your opinion of their performance, much less than the singing or auto-tune side of things.
I don't know. I mean, I think it's all very difficult to pinpoint exactly what is considered to be authentic and true to a performance versus what isn't. Someone would say, oh, Jamie Foxx did such a great job playing Ray Charles because he did the singing and he did the piano work. And that there is a true amazing performance, right? Yeah. However, if you replaced his singing with someone else, a professional singer, and that was overlaid on top, and then you shot the film in such a way where you never saw Jamie Foxx play the piano with his own hands, then immediately is he now disqualified because all he's really doing is playing a certain slice of the character as opposed to the wider spectrum of what he is. The performance is diminished.
That is true. I think in terms of like an actor's devotion to a role plays a huge factor into the overall award season narrative. Like Leo, like when he won for The Revenant, there was so much like, oh, he actually did this. He ate a raw fish. He slept in that or whatever. Like he really devoted himself. And we see it all the time with actors who kind of go above and beyond what they're supposed to do.
Yeah.
And it does play a bit of a factor into them getting like nominations. So it might be a larger discussion, but I think we can all agree in terms of like AI usage, it's here, it's now, and it is starting to influence a little bit in terms of the Oscars. There needs to be regulation. I think any AI usage in films needs to be declared and it needs to be known, because who knows at the rate how good it's getting, we need to be able to know, because if I had seen the Brutalist before this information, I would have felt a little bit lied to, a little bit cheated.
I don't know. I mean, I imagine if it was the industry standard to do your own vocals, and it had always been that way all the way up until now, and then we suddenly had one performance for the first time where they didn't do the vocals
Focus for what?
for like their singing.
But this is
Then
this
there
is
would-
not
there would
singing.
be up
Okay,
in arms.
Emilia Perez is a little bit less egregious here, in my opinion. The Brutalist, like let's say Casey Affleck's Manchester by the Sea, a really dark scene, and he's talking about it, and then you find out they use AI to make his voice a little bit sad and or deeper. Yeah, it's like and then you went and believed it, and then you found that out later on. It's like I feel a little bit cheated.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think that's different. I think the emotion is different than saying like something as simple as an accent or a vocal, because I don't know something. There's like reasonable levels of expectation you have for an actor. Say an actor like Adrian Brody, born in the United States, brought up in the United States. He's not going to be able to perfectly replicate the Hungarian accent, like one to one.
Well, his mother comes from Hungarian descent, which, I mean, he talks about his whole ancestry behind this movie.
Yeah, but he's still not going to be able to do it like a real Hungarian, like someone who's
not
natively
completely.
born there and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So there's this level of expectations. We have to be realistic about what they're actually able to do. Leonardo DiCaprio is not going to be able to sing like, I don't know, Frank Sinatra. It's just not. It's not possible for them to do that.
Yeah, and some random runner from Jamaica is not going to beat Usain Bolt unless he takes those roids. Like it's the same kind of thing, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, that is the same thing. And I also think it's why there has been major alterations and major re-injections of performances been happening for decades. It's been happening for a long time already. I just think our perspectives are skewed.
Right. So you want consistency across the board
Correct.
when we like analyze this kind of stuff.
Yeah, I think that if you're gonna hit down heavy on AI, then you got to hit down heavy on the rest, because the rest can be used as a way to circumvent AI. For example, you're able to very easily create a technology that is not using AI. Technically, it's not using language models not using the fundamentals of an AI to achieve it, and you get almost the same result.
Yeah.
It's tricky.
It
Tricky.
is a tricky conversation. Yeah, I mean, like, I'm fine with AI, with movies that have used AI being nominated or being in awards consideration, but there has to be a limit. And I don't know if this is the limit. I don't know if the limit's higher or lower, but I don't know. Performances is something that should be 100% human.
I agree.
Yeah. They just feel that is like, I don't know, in terms of human creativity and a performance from an actor, it's just, it's something that shouldn't be meddled with AI in terms of awards consideration. But yeah, that's for the Oscars and the Academy to kind of figure out, not us. I mean, I think in a few years we might have our best film or best artificial intelligence category. Do you think we'll ever have that?
I wouldn't be surprised, to be honest.
Yeah. Should be interesting. Anyway, we'll move on to something a little bit more light now. It's quite an intense conversation. Avatar, Fire and Ash, Nayan's most anticipated for the year. James Cameron says it's the same length as Avatar, The Way of Water, which was 3 hours, 12 minutes, so around that time. He states that they have double the amount of shots as The Way of Water at this stage in the production, and that the production is less nightmarish than what The Way of Water was, and that they are in strong shape. So, any thoughts on these updates for Avatar, Fire and Ash?
Do you know what he means by nightmarish?
Like, it's not so stressful or rushed to get to the finish line kind of stuff?
Rushed. Excuse me.
Well, they went through like all the COVID shutdowns and openings, all that kind of stuff. So
Right.
I guess that plays a part in consistency.
Yeah, I'm more interested in his comments about how he's turned. He said the narrative is going to be more morally grey. Those recent comments interested me.
Right.
Which, if anyone doesn't know, Cameron had an interview and he said this film is not going to be like his other films. He's not expecting everyone to like it in the same way, because he's going to be a lot more morally grey with it. I mean, I'm curious as to what level of moral grayness James Cameron has, and I think that's something to talk about as well.
Yeah.
But when it comes to the anticipation of fire and ash and double the shots and all that sort of thing, I mean, I just have to wonder, kind of like how much is he upping the ante? How much is this more of a spectacle?
Yeah.
And exactly what tone can we expect from him? Those are the questions I have surrounding all those comments.
We'll get to those questions. Now, what are your thoughts on these?
I'm hoping for more a darker tone, especially if he said that the Fire Navi are like the villains, because right now all we're seen as like friendly Navis,
And
so it'd be
bad humans.
yeah,
Yeah.
and bad humans. So it'd be cool to see like Jake Sully and his family face a threat against the bad humans, but also people of almost the same kind of these avatars. So I hope it does, and I think that's where we might get that more morally grey sort of aspect from, is within that. 3 hours, 12 minutes. I will make sure I get a good sleep and not drink too many beers before I see this film for the first time, because I fell asleep.
Oh no!
And Kyan left an hour through it. An eventful screening we had.
It was.
To be fair, I had already seen it.
Huh? The day before, yeah. And then
Yeah.
what was it? A late screening that we went to?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I did get up early or something. I don't remember.
Yeah, but 3 hours, 12 minutes, not really surprised by that. I mean, all the first Avatar have been, if not quite that level, but to that level. So I can imagine the rest of this franchise being around about that 3 hour mark, just to fully show his vision, and then it goes from there. Not sure how advanced in the visuals we'll get. I think it will be similar to Way of Water, but maybe just a bit better. Like little tweaks, but it won't be nothing like Avatar 1 to Avatar 2 type of, revolutionary sort of things.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I think a lot of people look for, at least people that are interested in movies, look for like the kind of technological advancements with these Avatar movies. I just don't think we're really going to get that here, and that's perfectly fine. But James Cameron's had like kind of two stabs at the Avatar storyline, and the first one he wasn't expecting a sequel, and the second one he was. So hopefully there's some evolutionary. There's some evolution to the storyline here, and he's got a vision, and by the end of the third one we'll actually see like how it's all shaping up and how it's kind of coming to its finality in the final two movies, if it ends there. But yeah, I mean, it does intrigue me. The in terms of the running time and the kind of update in terms of where they're at in production, I'm glad, because you never know if an Avatar release date is safe or not. Like, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if in a month from now they're like, Avatar is delayed till next year, Avatar 4 2030, and then Avatar 5 2033 or something like that.
Because round about this time when Way of Water was set to release, we had that little teaser trailer, right?
Yes.
Yeah,
We had a really early trailer for Way of Water.
Yeah, we don't have that yet. I mean, and all we have is concept images from what we've seen. We haven't seen like actual
Shots,
shots. Either.
Yeah, so it gives me some faith that it's actually going to match up to the storyline. And that's what this franchise needs. It needs consistency. You can't just... It shouldn't take 50 years for 5 movies to come out. So hopefully they actually stick to a better timeline, and it seems like they are going to. This, in terms of the whole morally grey thing, that's where it needs to go, because... I don't know, and I'm enjoying the franchise so far, but it would be so much better if we actually got like far more, I guess, nuance and like this whole dilemma between humans versus Na'vi. But yeah, enough. I just want to see like more, I guess morally greyness in there to come.
I what I want is kind of, and I feel this way for a lot of like big franchises that tend to get a bit stale, is that I want it to do something really big, with and really bold with its storytelling. Like, and I don't even give a shit if it doesn't necessarily like land right. Like I really at least respect big and bold, so long as it's not like the cheap kind of big and bold that is like formulaic.
Right.
I really want to see true moral grayness where. And one of the few things in terms of the narrative that I appreciated about The Way of Water was that it tackled a little bit of Jake's regret, maybe guilt in being a Na'vi over deciding to be a human.
Yeah.
I thought that was really interesting. I thought that exploring the concept of, a human in an RV's body and it's not really what it cracked up to be is definitely an interesting avenue.
Yeah, so to see like an existential crisis when he sees like these Na'vi go and slaughter innocent humans.
Correct.
And he's like, oh man, like did I make the right decision? Should I, like what do I do? And like that would be really
like
interesting.
you're either with us or you're against us. And he's like, I don't want to kill innocent people. And it's like, well, you're either with us or you're against us, sort of thing. Yeah, and exactly. That's exactly the kind of moral grayness I want to see. And I also want to see something really interesting done with Awa, the sort of very vague living planet entity that
It's like the god religion.
it almost seems to be like a biological AI that is like running the planet. That I think is interesting, and I really want them to explore it in a way where this Awa is seen to be as like a mother nature sort of entity. I would love to see that explored in a morally grey area as well, where it's like, Mother Nature can be this kind, protective thing, but it can also be this incredibly brutal and almost evil.
Well, you're gonna.
presence.
I think you might see that with the fire people.
Yeah, I was about to say, like, I wonder if, like, AWA works, you know how, like, the water tribe and the air tribe, I guess, from the first one, AWA is, like, their god and stuff like that, god of good. I'm wondering if, like, for the Fire Nation, I wonder if, like, AWA is going to be, like, their god, and it's just she or it or whatever is going to be, like, providing, like, all these goods of negativity towards the fire
because
people.
their volcano blew up around them, which destroyed like most of their tribe. From what we've heard in comments.
Well, it could be that their connection to Awar has been severed because of that.
Yeah,
Or
exactly.
It could be that Awar is angry.
So that
Who
could
knows?
be a thing, and they could actually just have a like vengeance against Awa, and
could, yeah.
I guess their kind of like adopted daughter in the movie had this kind of weird connection with Awa, kind of like the living embodiment of Awa. Because she could kind of control things, and
It's almost like she's the avatar for Awa.
and
in
she
a
was
way.
miracle birth or something like that.
Yeah, all these different weird things. And those are the little weird things that, like, to me were the most interesting parts of Avatar, The Way of Water. Like, that was the stuff that I was like, that's interesting.
Yeah.
That excites me a bit. It's like this weird stuff that Cameron seems to be hiding.
Yeah.
And I love when you can see a director is, like, sort of hiding something. You're sort of like, you really didn't touch on that at all. I'm curious if that's going to become something interesting.
It must do, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I honestly think that both Avatar 1 and 2 are building blocks of a story, because Avatar 1, it was never meant to be 5 movies long. It was just meant to be this one movie that he had envisioned. And then $2.9 billion later, he's doing it.
I mean, if nothing really comes from Fire and Ash in terms of like an interesting direction, then I think for me, I will sort of close the book on that franchise as something that's not really going to be
Anything
what I
more,
want from it, and it's really just going to be a spectacle. That's it.
Yeah, I would agree. I think Fire and Ash is kind of my last kind of chance to kind of get really into this franchise. I'll
Yeah.
still finish it, but it won't be like, my top 3 most anticipated. It might be an honorable mention every now and again because of the spectacle side of it, but nothing more.
Yeah.
And you've always been on the fence about the Avatar franchise.
I don't think I've always been on the fence. I've always been on the other side of the fence of negativity.
Fire and Ash is like, what was it, 6th or 7th on your most anticipated for
It
this
was
year?
mainly because of the fire aspect.
Yeah.
But that's it. But yeah, I think if Avatar is the same as, or Fire and Ash is the same as Way of Water, then I'll just be like, nah, I'm done with Avatar. I was right all along.
Yeah. Fair enough.
Like, obviously, I'll go still see it because it's one of those things that you do have to go see. And the fact that you spent, 1, 2, and 3 films in, each probably around about 9 hours long, like, you might as well just fucking finish it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
At that point. Yeah. But I guess that is going to do it on today's podcast. Some really interesting conversations, very diverse and really good, really interesting. There's so many of them where I just kind of sit on the fence for all of them, but I guess those are the best kind of conversations. But that is it from us today. You guys know the message. Do not follow us. Do not subscribe. Do not do anything like that because we are in the final days of our potty. All that you can do is just await our final, 6 episodes now, building up to that 100 and any specials that we may or may not do. And just stay tuned for those. Otherwise, go listen to other stuff if you feel like it. Other than that, have a great day Keep bringing the hype. Peace.
Later.
See ya.